Hey guys, what's up? So in this video we're going to go over how to do the Ooze Pit solo on an assassin. So if you're familiar with this dungeon run, you're probably used to popping a full CONset, if not just a BU or Essence of Clarity, along with a bunch of Pcons and whatnot to make it all the way through to the end. However, with this method and with this build, all you need is a Cupcake and some alcohol. So in terms of the run itself, it's not that much different than what you're probably used to. It's probably going to be roughly the same thing actually, and as a matter of fact, I already did a video on this dungeon before where I popped a full CONset, so if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description. But with this build, it's going to be a little bit more glass cannon, shall we say. You have to be a little bit more wary of where you're running, because you don't want to get stuck or caught in the Earthbound Ooze's hexes, because you'll likely not survive and die, and you'll respawn back at the shrine and have to rerun your route again. So therefore, if you're not used to this dungeon already, I would suggest popping a CONset either with this build or with the other build, and just getting used to the dungeon and how it feels. So as you enter, pop the Cupcake for the speed boost and energy boost, and then use alcohol with Dwarven stability so you don't get knocked down as you're running through. And obviously you want to maintain your Shadow Form and Shrouded Distress with Deadly Paradox. So the thing you have to look out for with this build and with this method is the enchantment time of Shadow Form. You're obviously not using a BU or Essence of Clarity, and your Shadow Arts attributes are not maxed out, they're at 10 instead of 12, so your Shadow Form will not last as long as you're probably used to. So before you run through a group, you want to try to get as close to that group as possible without getting their aggro, precast Shadow Form, and then try to run through as quickly as possible without getting stuck or getting close to the Earthbound Oozes. And the reason you want to avoid the Earthbounds is because they have this skill called Grasping Earth that is a hex spell that'll slow you down by 50%. And it'll get through Shadow Form because it doesn't target, it affects the enemies that are nearby the caster, so you want to avoid getting near the Earthbounds. Or if you do have to get near them, you don't want to stay there too long and get hexed. So the point I'm trying to make here is that you don't want to have to cast Shadow Form or any other enchantment spell while you have the aggro of the Oozes. That just gives them time to gather around you and get you stuck, and you won't be able to survive that long. And or the Earthbound Oozes will get a Grasping Earth hex on you and slow you down, and the same thing will happen, they'll gather around you and kill you. Which is fine and all, you'll just respawn next to the closest shrine that you ran through. But it's going to be more annoying running through the groups again a second time, because once you get their aggro, they start to multiply. So there'll be more enemies to run through, and you have to be a little bit more wary of where you're running. So that's why you only want to use one Shadow Form to get through these groups. With some of them, you'll just barely be able to make it through on one cast. But that's also another reason why the other method is safer. Not only are you using the full Pcons and a CONset, you get the extended enchanting time of Shadow Form, and you also get a jumping skill. Whereas with this method and this build, you need all the skills shown here, and you'll see why in a bit. But with the other method, you have room for a jumping skill, so in case you do actually get stuck, you'll be able to jump out of there and you'll be fine. So right now, we're just running to get to the switch and step on the pad to open the door to Gloop, who's the boss that'll drop the key to get to the final bosses and the chest. So I'm just going to be quiet for a little bit, and I'll see you there. Alrighty then, so Gloop is just at the bottom of these stairs, so you want to pull out your longbow and stand at the very top of the stairs on the left hand side. There's a ledge that's slightly higher than the rest of the ground around it, so you just want to stand at the very top on that ledge and shoot an arrow at Gloop and walk backwards to pull him up the stairs. And occasionally you might get one or two of the other enemies around him to pull with him, which is unfortunate, but in that case you just want to attack those other enemies first before focusing on Gloop. So once Gloop is up here, just switch to your Scythe, cast Way the Master and Critical Agility and maintain Grent's Aura, and then just keep attacking him until he dies. So normally with the other build, Frozen Burst would deal a lot of damage to you. Frozen Burst is a spell that Gloop uses that affects all the enemies around the caster. And with the other build, with all your Pcons and Consets, you're able to survive it better. But with this, you need to maintain Critical Agility, which not only increases your attack speed, it also gives you a little bit of an armor boost. And it also refreshes each time you land a critical hit, which is why we're using Way of the Master. And we also have an increased Critical Strikes attribute. That's where the points from the Shadow Arts went to. So we need to hit a critical strike every so often to refresh Critical Agility. And it's that armor boost that basically makes us able to survive all these Frozen Burst skills. So you just want to keep attacking Gloop until he dies, and he'll drop a key, and we'll use that key to get to the final bosses at the end and get the chest. So I'll just leave you again until we kill Gloop and get to the final bosses, and I'll see you there. So there's one other thing I should mention. There's going to be some Stormcloud Incubuses or Incubi, however you say it, that we'll have to run through, and they're able to rip your enchantments. So whichever enchantment that you casted last is the one they'll rip. So you want to make sure you have a shadow form at the bottom of your enchantment list, and then cast Way the Master or Grent's Aura over the shadow form. So when they do rip your enchantments, they're ripping those and not shadow form. So they spawn right here in this cave, and you just want to keep running through as fast as you can. So when they do rip your enchantments, they won't get shadow form. So the final boss is actually a trio of bosses, and once you kill all three of them, the chest will spawn and you could grab your loot. So before you aggro them, obviously cast Shadow Form, and then you want to run in and head towards the left and walk sideways or backwards to pull them down the stairs and into this corner. You want to try to get all three of them on top of one another so that your scythe will hit all three at the same time. And then just like Gloop, maintain your Shadow Form and Way the Master, Critical Agility, and Grent's Aura. Attack them until they die. And you actually don't need to maintain Dwarven Stability here. They don't have any skills that'll knock you down, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's very imperative that you kill all three of them at the same time. You want to be dealing even damage so not one dies before the other. Once any one of these bosses die, a bunch of oozes will spawn in their place, and you won't be able to survive long enough to kill the other one or two bosses that are left. And if that happens, you might as well just restart because it's just going to be a real pain to kill them. You'll need a lot of Pcons and summoning stones and whatnot to even get through it, so it's just easier to restart. But these bosses are actually easier to kill than Gloop. Just maintain your Grunt's aura, just keep hacking away with your scythe, and they should all die about the same time. You might get one hit that is slightly delayed on one of them, but they should die pretty quickly. And once they do die, all the oozes will spawn and kill you, which is fine. The reason we brought them down the stairs is because they'll spawn away from the chest, which spawns right in the middle of this little area here. And the resurrection shrine where you'll spawn at is back by the door where you entered this final boss area. There's a bunch of oozes that are in that vicinity, so you want to run away as fast as possible. And it should be a straight shot right to the chest. So this dungeon is a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like down below, and if you enjoy this kind of stuff, I'm always making Guild Wars 1 related content, so please consider subscribing. And with that, I just want to say good luck, have fun, and thanks for watching.